Hi everyone, thanks for watching the JB Arts YouTube channel. Today we've got some pouring medium. I've got Jessica here to help me. It's going to be a fantastic time. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. Alright, I've got Jessica's hands here helping me. I came across a certain problem of recording videos that I can't talk and work very well at the same time, so Jess is going to help do a lot of the working and I'm going to do a lot of the talking. It works really well when we team up like this, so we thought it'd be a good way to do this one, just so we can get as many different angles and show you how it's done and get in there with some good details. Alright, so we are doing our first video just as if you were getting one of our kits. We're going to do a couple of other sort of advanced ideas to inspire you to do more in the future. So here we go. Jessica, say hi.
Hello.
Alright, let's get started, my lovely hand model. So first we're squirting an area in. You can see that the flow doesn't really sort of spread out until we get sort of more colors in there together. The surface tension is actually sort of holding together the paint and giving this great thickness. So we can create some fantastic designs with this stuff. Or we can just pour it out and make a big mess and have all the colors marbled together on their own. We're going to show a bunch of different examples. So here, layering in the color, you can see it sort of spreads out, and the colors are designed to sort of not mix together unless you sort of force them together. And this makes fantastic lines. You can always take it and tip it into each other and get sort of new designs as you go as well. Yay. You can literally do any pattern you want and it'll stay glossy and shiny and maintain this sort of level of volume. More fancy designs. Now a lot of the time you want to try and cover a lot of your surface. A lot of people do sort of part pours and things. That looks good. Usually if there's sort of a painted background, that can look really good too. You could take a bit of this paint with a brush and sort of brush out sort of a surface color first. Maybe you already have some colors at home that you can sort of play around with. All of those are really good things to try and do as well. It's certainly okay to add other things into it. If you decide to get your own pouring medium, the best thing to do would be to mix about 10% or 1 part paint, usually a fluid kind of acrylic, a very thin, smooth, liquidy kind of acrylic, and mix in about 90% medium. So that's a lot, right? You use a lot more medium. Luckily, the medium is fairly affordable, especially if you're comparing it to like artist grade colors or something like that. You can get a lot of medium for the price of what you could get colors, especially some of the other bright ones. Ooh, Jessica's tipping it up, showing it sort of slowly run into other colors. Now you can see in here where colors are sort of overlapping and there's a bit of transparency. That's one of the best parts or the best ways to get your colors to sort of blend and mix together. It's absolutely fantastic to see sort of those kind of things marble up. So for just such a simple sort of way of applying the paint, you can get some really cool effects. And working on the inside of a wood panel like this means the colors aren't just going to splash out everywhere and make a big mess. There's sort of a stopper from preventing it from running over. Not that running over is bad. We certainly like that effect, but it's a good way to sort of conserve your paint and really make sure that we do a good job with less mess. And I'm not about the less mess. This is also why I've got Jess here helping me today. You know me, I just paint everywhere. Alright, so what we're going to do next, we've tilted our paint. It's sort of moving slowly to other areas. We haven't quite got it into the corners yet. So what we're going to try and do next is use our palette knife. Okay, palette knives came with the kit, and what we're doing is sort of spreading it out. We don't want to spread it on like butter on toast where you're trying to jam it into every little spot. You want to try and think of it more like icing a cake. When you get a cake, you don't want some thin layer of icing. You want a nice, thick, deep layer. So we really want to take the paint and only spread the top surface. And if you overspread, it's just going to make a big mess of your colors. So we really want to make sure that we just try and do it in 1 or 2 passes. That's it, 1 or 2 passes to fill in sort of the areas. Now, taking a look at the bottles that we've got here, you know, these bottles were mostly full when we gave them. Now they are, you know, just slightly under halfway, so we've probably used about half of the amount that we've given in just this one here. At any given point, we can go back and add more color if we have to, but the swirls and mixes that you get, you know, can only be achieved sort of with palette knife or standing it up and twisting it, and that's what the cool effects that people really want to see. Are we going to do any more palette knife there, Jessica? Oh yeah. Where are we going to do? Where is it next? There we go. Turn it right around. Thank you. Now that's looking neat. Okay. So what's really cool about these pours is that you can paint over them again. Let's say we get this great swoosh in here and we think, wow, that looks like a shooting star. Guess what? You can paint in a shooting star right on top of it. You could always drizzle on paint when it's dry in sort of a star shape, and that could be part of your picture. Sometimes these look just sort of abstract, non-representational art is what we would call it. But you could totally go more picturesque with your pictures. I've done some great beach scenes with this sort of picture. We've done awesome outer space paintings. You can go more pictorial with them, and they do look really awesome. Sometimes it just takes a bit of practice to learn how the flow of the paint goes, but you know, with everything you always get better by doing a little bit more. Those look really cool, Jessica. Those little spots there. Let's see if we can just zoom into there with the other camera. There we go. That's fantastic. So what we're doing here is actually sort of like a marbling technique where we blob the color in, it pushes out a little bit more, you blob another color, it pushes out, and you get these sort of perfect little rings. Awesome. So Jessica, can we talk about a couple other tools that we've got here that maybe you guys have at home? Like a plastic fork, right? You more than likely have these sort of things at home. If we think about the different effects that we can get out of that, a lot of it can be determined by the tools that you're using. So we gave you a palette knife, but there are a lot of other things like combs and stuff like that that drag your colors through in patterns and make really neat effects. There you go. So you can get awesome swirly patterns with just something simple like a fork or a comb. And a lot of artists play with this sort of idea that they can really manipulate the paint with other tools that create fantastic patterns. You can use virtually anything. I've seen people pour this kind of paint through cauldrons and it all drips through in neat patterns and looks absolutely fantastic when it's done. So we're just finishing off this piece. Our next one is going to be taking a bunch of colors that we have sort of in stock and mixing it all up. We kind of mix metallics and things like that into a lot of our colors to make them really shine. And so here we go, squirting them in. Now we're going to add some silicone oil. You can see it in just a second where we put just a couple of drops in. You don't want a lot of silicone oil. It can do really funny things with your paint if you're not careful. So we just put in a couple of drips. And what happens is when you put your colors in layers, the silicone oil rises to the top and color from the bottom layers comes up through, and that's what gives us these sort of circular pockets of interesting marbled colors. So we're doing what's called a dirty pour, where we put the cup upside down on the board, or rather put the board on top of the cup and flip it over. We wait a few seconds, and then when we pull off the cup, all of the layers are released at once and we get this really cool sort of pushed out marbly effect. It's pretty quick though. You can always do more pours on the outer edges and such, or you can do another pour on top of it to keep it sort of spreading out. Sometimes that looks really good with brighter colors. Now if you look closely you can sort of see cells and things like that sort of popping up. That's the sort of circular areas. We tilt it a little bit, and as different layers sort of push away from each other, other layers come up from the bottom. We let gravity do some of the work. I've seen these sort of spun outward, like on a Lazy Susan or whatnot, and those can create some interesting effects. Works really well with this particular type by doing it framed, because if it splatters out a bit further than you want, it's okay, it's trapped inside. So taking our time, not letting it go too far. You don't want to stretch it out. You can see where some of on the right hand side, the colors are starting to be somewhat pushed out of the way by the more solid colors on the left. So if you let all of your cool colors sort of get pushed out of the way, sometimes you're left with just more of a flat color. That's where a palette knife would come in and you can sort of swipe over top. What we're going to do on this one here is we're creating a band of color in the center to start with, and then we're going to put more colors in on either edge and swipe through. So here's a close-up shot of what the marbly colors look like. They look so galactic. I love it. Now is when we pour more color on the edge. These have silicone oils as well. And you'll see how sort of the cells that are already existing in the color we've got there, when other colors go on top of it, this pattern sort of pushes up through. Now in this case we're just taking a couple of pieces of cardboard, putting it right across the paint and swiping through gently. Now we're leaving a thickness of pouring medium and paint behind and sort of smearing it into the colors that are already there in the middle of our wood board. You can see how we're not really picking up a lot of the other color, and boom, all of the cells start to come to the surface, giving us these great pockets. You can watch them sort of growing in shape, and that's one of the funnest parts. This will continue to sort of bubble or create these cool pockets of color for about 15 minutes. So you could go away for 15-20 minutes, go get a coffee, come back, and your painting could look entirely different when you get back. So we're pouring purple on the other side and swiping that through. You do want to be careful about having too many colors, perhaps sticking to a color scheme or working with really bright colors versus really cool colors. That works really well for a lot of people in their pours. So you can see the two pieces of cardboard here just to swipe through. That's what it looks like a few minutes later with all of the cells sort of popping. It looks good. It's a good example of, cells and pockets and working with sort of harmonious colors, but we want to do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more experimental on this one, if you will. What we're doing is taking a piece of string and dipping it in the white pouring medium, saturating the piece of string from sort of one end to the other, and we're going to plop it in and then sort of drag it through, and it's going to make these wonderful patterns. Absolutely beautiful. We lay the string in, and then as the string gets tugged on, it pulls the medium gently, and we get these absolutely fantastic swirls. What I feel makes a good pour is when there's just enough interest, there's just enough sort of going on that we follow along with our eye and take a look at sort of every place. It's nice that there's a strong contrast from our dark colors to the white. I love the color variety and the swirl mixed with the round sort of circular pockets. It breaks up the picture just nicely, and I like how it looks sort of natural and organic. It's just a beautiful flow, and that's what I think people really gravitate towards in pouring mediums, is sort of the natural flow. And as you get better at it, you can predict how your paint's going to sort of react to the type of technique you use to apply it or to turn it on its side. And those sort of things, as you get better at them, you have more control. And then it becomes a really good creative aspiration of ooh, I'm gonna do this on my next one. And that's where we learn something, we get better, and we can sort of express ourselves through our paintings. So I really hope you're going to try the pouring medium again. It's a fantastic activity. People love them. Alright, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Have yourself a wonderful day, folks.